Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to my review of this knife, a fixed blade from Spyderco. Yeah, they do occasionally make fixed blades. This is the Serrata. And you are at the We All Juggle Knives YouTube channel, by the way. Now, this has G10 handle scales that look a lot like my Carta. That is 440C, and it is cast 440C. I will discuss the steel more later in the video, so please hold all your comments about that until then. Alright, but yeah, G10 handle scales, true full tang, made in Taiwan. The blade length is around 4.6 inches by my measure. And most of this video is just going to be me doing a whole bunch of different things with this knife. But first, some size comparisons. From the left, Spyderco Aqua Salt, then the Serrata, then the Spyderco Temperance 2. See, I told you they make fixed blades. Now, this knife was sent in for review by this website, campingsurvival.com. It's also a store, it's a store that sells on the web. This is one of the best websites for those into emergency preparedness. They have all kinds of stuff. Basically, paracord, MREs, military surplus clothing, survival kits, land navigation, signaling, water filtration, whole bunch of machetes. So check them out. They do have a YouTube channel. It's owned by a Marine Corps veteran. And you can see the guy right on his YouTube channel, so you know who you're dealing with. I like that. Very good customer service. Easy to work with. Check out those links. Now, this knife comes with that information brochure, and I will summarize it for you in case you can't read it on the screen. The Serrata was designed by custom knife maker Stuart Ackerman. Currently living in New Zealand, he's a native of South Africa, a veteran of combat service in Namibia, Angola, and Rhodesia. He served as an infantry soldier and learned a lot about what a survival knife needs to do. Using this experience, when he became a knife maker, he designed the Serrata. Alright, well, that is quite impressive, and I'm picturing like a combination of Leonardo DiCaprio's character from Blood Diamond crossed with Rambo, crossed with that scary mercenary guy from the movie Elysium. Ackerman designed the Serrata as a consummate utility cutting tool. It combines the familiar look of a kitchen knife with the versatility with the ergonomic handle that offers hands of all sizes comfort and control no matter how it is gripped. The blade has a full flat grind and distal taper, allows it to have a thick spine for strength, yet still provide low friction cutting performance and excellent point utility. Alright, well that all sounds wonderful, but how does it actually perform? Let's see, doing stuff with the blade. Here I am making some notches with the trusty old crosswise batoning method. Now the edge on this knife is, it's fairly broad. It might get in the way of certain bushcraft tasks, like, for example, fine carving and so forth. But remember, this is not sold as a pure bushcraft knife. It's sold as a all-purpose or general-purpose utility cutting tool. And I gotta say, with the resume of that knife maker, I know a lot about what happened in Rhodesia. I've read up on that, and it sounds like he was killing a commie for mommy when half of you were, still asking mommy for some orange juice. So, yeah, I respect that service. All right, but anyway, I'm cleaning up my notch there. Those are my two notches, and so I made 1,000 more of those, and then I built a whole log cabin just out of those very small logs. No, I'm just kidding. I did not. But notches, very useful. And here I am drilling some divots with the very pointed tip of this knife. Yeah, you can drill some divots. Now, I don't do the super primitive fire starting methods. I'm not advanced enough to do the fire starting like that. But I will show drilling some divots. And, you probably shouldn't drill them in midair like I am, but the sun was going down, and I didn't have time to change my camera position. But speaking of knife tips, yeah, that was a good segue. This thing is very pointed, but it widens quickly. It would cause a very nasty wound channel and pierce very effectively. I mean, if we're going to talk about a a blade that an infantryman would have, it would stab pretty damn well. All right, removing some soggy bark from this branch that I'm going to use to baton later in the video. Yeah, we had like 3 or 4 days of rain, so I just had to remove some soggy bark from that first. Here's some batoning, just a little bit, but you'll get the idea. Believe me, yeah, you can baton with this knife. It's not a very long knife, so it's kind of a pain in the ass to baton like the thicker pieces because there's not much of the knife sticking out to get a square hit on. But I mean, aside from those obvious just like laws of space and time, I mean, it's short, you know. Thou cannot baton a 5-inch diameter log with a 2-inch blade. Not that this is 2 inches, but oh, did you see me? I didn't even comb my hair for this video, but it's fairly short, so I guess it doesn't matter. But anyway, the point is, I batoned all those. You can make kindling. That is the nastiest, like, murk wood from the Hobbit type wood. It's all twisty and knotty. It was knotty, so I spanked it. No, that was a bad joke. But yeah, you can make kindling. Ah, fire starting. So there you see me striking the fire steel with the spine of the knife. The spine is very sharp. It's very good for striking a fire steel. You could also use it to scrape some bark. If your bark wasn't all like soggy like all the wood around here is. But as you see, I have arthritis in my hand, by the way. If it looks like I'm holding it funny, that's pain. That's pain. It's not funny. All right, so I failed, and then I sprinkled more shavings, and then I succeeded, as you will see. I do wood carving, so I just have like boxes of shavings like that. All right, do you see it? Yeah. Yeah, right after I added those shavings, it started right up. But there you go. The money shot of all bushcrafty videos. Oh yeah, any kids out there, don't play with fire. Make sure you have adult supervision if you're going to start a campfire or anything like that. Adult supervision. All right, enough of that. Gaze into the fire. Tell me what you see. I see a wall of ice. I think it all melted yesterday, which allowed me to finally go out and make a knife video because there wasn't freezing rain like for the last 4 days. Alright, so there's the fire. Alright, here I am removing some more bark from this branch, which I'm going to carve into a spear or a javelin. It's kind of short for a sphere, a short spear. Alright, so here I am chopping it. Now, I would normally use like a small tomahawk or a woodworking hatchet this way. But you can also use a knife. You know, it takes a little bit more energy because it doesn't weigh as much. It's not as top heavy as a little woodworking hatchet. But this was the best way. Alright, so step 2, just chop at your little... This is sped up, by the way. Yeah, just chop it until it looks like that, and then spend another 20 minutes smoothing it out. This is like the last, 30 seconds of the smoothing out. As I was saying, the edge on this, it's not a very fine edge. It's not like a carving knife. But having said that, I could certainly use it to carve something in the field if I had to. Right, and with my little spear. You know how I love to make wooden weapons. Why is that? I don't know. When you kill with your own hands, there is a reverence. Now, that was from The Hunted. Don't get excited, YouTube. I'm not losing it. That was from that Benicio del Toro movie. Let's go hunt a gazelle. But alright, so it can carve adequately. Oh, knife throwing. Here's some abuse. I stabbed it into this a lot of times, but that's not the abuse. The abuse was also I picked this thing up and almost, basically, the knife took a lot of lateral force. I was almost scared to pick it up, and I basically picked it up and turned it sideways a few times. Lateral force that's how a knife will break, if it does break. But now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, there's a freaking airplane. Yeah, I hate that airplane. I've tried to get them to respect my knife reviews, and they just refuse, you know? As if hundreds of people getting to their destination is more important than my knife review in my backyard. But, yeah, anyway, I picked this up, and that thing is heavier than it looks. I don't know how heavy it looks, but, you know, I picked this up, and I was holding it almost horizontally. And this is a strong knife. I know a lot of knives that would fail this test, but, you know, this knife is fairly thick at the spine. Alright, so I did that a few times. I also heard some wild turkeys while I was out there. I heard some wild turkeys off in the distance. I think they want to be dinner. Here's the sheath that it comes with. As you see, it's got eyelets and it's got that clip. You see the hardware there? It's a molded sheath. It's called Boltaron, which I don't know what that is, but it's similar to Kydex. It holds it in very securely. It does not rattle at all. It has that spot to push off with. How you like my blood blister there? The things I do for YouTube. The sacrifices I make. But I like it. I mean, it's a very tactical sheath. It kind of, you know, it clicks in there. Yeah, I like the sheath. I mean, it's compact. It does its job. All right, more about the steel. This is from the brochure it comes with. The Serrata is unique because the blade is made of 440C cast steel. The process involves blah blah. They just, you know, what casting is. Unlike traditional rolled steel, cast steel creates a dendritic crystalline structure. This process infuses microscopic crystals into the steel that create micro serrations along the edge. These micro serrations increase the blade's bite into the material being cut and enable it to retain its sharpness significantly longer than traditional steels. That is quite a story. Now, I'm a knife user. I don't make knives, and I certainly don't manufacture steel, so, you know, you're just going to have to ask yourself how much you trust the company Spyderco and the choices of that particular knife maker. I can tell you how the knife feels in hand, and I can show you it in use, right? And you're just going to have to judge for yourself what you think of that steel information. Now, the designer also said that he chose that steel because it's easy to maintain in the field, meaning easy to resharpen and very resistant to rust. All right, that's valid. All right, final thoughts on the Spyderco Serrata. And, you know, as I do that, you can just stare into the fire and see your destiny. Well, good things about the knife. It's got a lot of belly for slicing. It's very pointed, but then it widens out, which means that, you know, whether you're slicing up your food in the kitchen and using that point just to open a bag of ingredients, or whether you're slicing and thrusting over in Rhodesia, doing unspeakable things to other human beings out of necessity, that blade shape is useful is what I'm saying. It's a very strong knife. It's very thick at the spine. You can tell that this was designed by someone who needed their knife not to break out in the field. The handle is very comfortable. Just the shape, there's no hot spots, and that's something that they also said in the brochure, which was true. And the designer specifically said that too. So yeah, it does feel good in hand, and yes, I know I was wearing gloves, but surprisingly I don't wear gloves 24/7, and I did also use the knife without gloves. But yeah, very comfortable. The edge on this, you know, the broad edge, it's very different from other Spydercos. You know, this thing is crap at slicing paper, but who needs to slice paper, especially with a fixed blade? But it is crap for slicing paper. It's not designed for that, but like every other Spyderco I've had, like a Delica, that'll like just samurai the paper. But on the plus side, you know, the edge on this, it's a strong edge. You know, a broad edge is usually a stronger edge than if it was like a freaking scalpel. You know what I'm saying? So, but it's not that good for carving because it is broad. So, you know, it's a trade-off of strength versus fine work type stuff. I would not recommend this for pure bushcraft simply because, well, first of all, Spyderco has a bunch of other knives that are meant for bushcraft, and then other companies have a lot of dedicated bushcraft knives. Whereas this knife is designed as a general purpose utility cutting tool, so not for pure bushcraft, although you might modify it for that. Its biggest competition would be other kind of general purpose military knives like a USMC K-bar or Ontario Pilot Survival Knives or a lot of other knives by OKC. And with their lower prices, this will have difficulty competing with those just price-wise. But another benefit of this is the true full tang, because a lot of the military knives, especially the more traditional ones, they have an enclosed tang. You know, their tang reaches to the pommel, but it's not as wide as the handle is wide. It's enclosed, right? So this has a stronger tang, all right? And the steel issue, that's well known. I mean, some people just won't buy a knife that's 440C. I have several N-Trek knives that are very good 440C, so I'm not biased against it as some people would if they had never owned one that was actually high quality. But check out N-Trek, and even Essie is making some 440C knives now, so keep an open mind. But this was my honest review, a mixed review. You know, I don't care if you buy this knife. Spyderco didn't send me this knife. And the website that did send it, you know, their best stuff is prepping supplies. That's what I recommend them for, just a huge selection of emergency preparedness stuff that's good. So check out that website. But no, you don't have to. I'm not expecting a whole bunch of people to buy this one item. You know, they have thousands of items of all possible genres. So yes, thank you again to campingsurvival.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. You know, I don't sell knives, but I do sell videos to YouTube, or at least YouTube will give me something depending on how many of you tune in. And thank you all for tuning in. This has been We All Juggle Knives.